Welcome to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, the big butch manly movie podcast that can easily take down a dozen men. I'm Andrew Wheeler.
And I'm Shane Holland.
Today we are talking about John Wick, the 2014 neo-noir revenge thriller directed by Chad Stahelski, written by Derek Kolstad, and introducing a young whippersnapper named Keanu Reeves as the titular hitman John Wick. The film also stars Michael Nyqvist, Alfie Allen, Adrienne Palicki, Bridget Moynihan briefly, Dean Winters, Ian McShane, John Leguizamo, and Willem Dafoe. Quite a cast. It's a milestone in action cinema. John Wick uses its streamlined premise as a vehicle for 101 minutes of stylish and highly choreographed fight sequences, launching a franchise that now stands at 5 movies, 1 television show, and 3 more movies currently in production, plus an endless stream of imitators including The Accountant, The Beekeeper, Bullet Train, Monkey Man, Atomic Blonde, Hotel Artemis, Extraction, and Nobody. The movie is credited with reinvigorating the action movie industry. The synopsis is pretty easy. A legendary hitman comes out of retirement to seek revenge against the men who killed his dog.
Easy.
Ta-da!
What more can you say?
So, have you seen this movie before we decided to watch it for the show?
Yeah. God, I probably watched it, I don't know how many years ago, but definitely after it was in theaters.
Yes.
And that was the only time I watched it. And I mean, it's fun. It's great. Like, it is a really good action film, but I didn't think I'd ever watch it again.
Yeah, I mean, everyone found it on home video. Like, it was that was its breakout, was that no one saw it in the theaters and then everyone watched it at home, and it went on to become this epic franchise. So yeah, I think I've seen all of the main John Wick movies because they are very easy to have on in the background while you're looking at your phone.
Right.
Not the way that we should be watching them for this, but
the way that this film
I've been
intended.
watching them.
Yes.
Yeah, it really feels that way. So yeah, sleeper hit, huge cult following, not a franchise that I feel an attachment to, but one that I've watched, like, I guess all 5 movies. I haven't watched the TV show because Mel Gibson is in it, and I haven't watched Ballerina, the Ana de Armas movie, because it's not available on home.
Saving that for a special occasion, obviously.
Saving that for home.
I haven't seen any of the others in the franchise. I think this is the only one that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a feeling we'll talk about more of them in the future just because of the nature of this podcast. And I think it's fine to wait until that moment. I think I know what I'm going to get. And I'm okay with what I'm going to get. It's like eating a meal you've had 1,000 times before. You like it, but you're not, like, I don't know, reaching for it all the time, even though I just said 1,000 times.
I think it's safe to say this is the most grounded of the John Wick movies. You know how these franchises go. Like,
it's going to get
sillier
campy
and more garish, and
I mean, this one had a bit of camp to it, but I can see exactly how that's going to expand in universe. Let's talk about it.
There's arcane lore surrounding this, like, secret society of assassins and hitmen, and it unravels in fabulous style, shall we say?
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does.
One of the things that we don't get much of in this, but we'll get a little more of in subsequent movies, is the first of our tent poles, the women. You ready to dive in?
I am. There's not much to talk about.
Yes.
Woman. Almost women. Woman.
Dead wife. Dead dog.
Okay, yeah. Yep. Which he trades up for a male dog at the end of the movie.
We'll talk. That is in my notes, believe me. Yeah, we never learn much about the wife except that she's dead, and that's sad. And that feels like a very masculine ideal of, I love my dead wife, and she has no personality. Or
I said Bridget Moynihan in the thankless role of dead wife, Daisy the dog in the thankless role of the dead dog. That's
at least Daisy got to do a little bit.
True.
Like, Bridget Moynihan just appears in, like, hazy flashbacks and photographs, maybe.
Is it Bridget Moynihan in all of the rest of the films? I'm sure that they're going to cut back to his dead wife in subsequent features.
Right.
Is that true?
I assume. I have no memory of it, but
fair.
Like, it's not a movie franchise that does a lot of flashbacks that I can recall. But I'm sure it is still Bridget Moynihan in subsequent movies. What else is she going to do? I mean, you know.
Rising
I mean,
star,
they have a
Bridget
lot of money
Moynihan.
to throw at her.
Yeah, fair.
So yeah, women not really showcased very much in this movie, and the franchise as a whole is very like boy coded. Men get to be very dangerous, women get to run doubled over shrieking between the nightclub banquettes, and that's about it.
Of course, that is burying the fact that there is one fabulous woman in this movie, Adrienne Palicki as Ms. Perkins, who does get to spend a lot of time kicking ass, and she looks absolutely fabulous in her introduction with this, I want to say, mink dress at the Continental Hotel. It might be spoiler alert for this episode of the podcast, it might be the only moment of fashion in the entire film.
It may well be. Yeah, the thing that frustrates me about Perkins is that she has to be the one that breaks the rules of the boys' club, and she's the one that is punished for it. Taken down by a firing circle. That's bad. Like, you don't place men opposite each other with guns. She should have been able to get out of them.
Yeah, a quick duck would have done the job. Very interesting
Honestly,
choice.
Throw your coat in the air. Yeah.
Do anything.
But yeah, there will be better roles for women, I think, in future franchises, or certainly more elaborate and more colourful and less ending in the only woman being killed.
Well, one of all women being killed. There was one standout moment, not for a character, but just like an interesting thing that happened, is that as soon as John Wick starts to fight her and actually goes in for a punch, he throws a sheet over her head. I guess presumably so we don't have on film Keanu Reeves punching a woman in the face.
Huh. Yeah.
Something felt gross about it all to begin with, but I'm
so
sure
gallant of you, Keanu.
Yeah, honestly,
the fact that you're punching a woman.
Yikes!
We do also get a very brief flash of Bridget Regan as the bartender. She seemed cool. I would love to have seen more of her. Yep. I don't remember if she comes back. I assume everyone at the Continental knows how to handle a gun.
She's also top billed. Like, she's in the end credits number, I want to say 6th or 7th, and it's like she's in half of a scene.
I mean, I
guess
Bridget
she's
Regan.
important. She's great. She was great in that half a scene, but to be like top billed.
I've seen all the other movies. I have no memory of anything that happens in any of them, except that Jason Mantzoukas is in one of them.
Yeah, that's really what I was looking forward to in this one, and it took me a minute to realize, he's not in this.
He's in like the third one.
Yeah.
The TikTok man is not. It seems a major figure in the overall mythology of John Wick, and it is a mythology. It is this arcane, like web of weird ideas passed off as something sort of real. Yeah. It's an odd one.
Speaking of the lore of this, I think part of the lore is that the fight scenes are so incredibly well choreographed. Like, they're really interesting, fun to watch. And for a movie where everyone is wearing black and so many of the scenes are taking place at night or in a nightclub or in a dark alley or surrounded by black SUVs, everything really pops still. And I think a lot of other action movies could take note. In the last 10 years, we've had so many action movies where the fighting happens in darkness, but you can't see what's happening, and the pacing is so frenetic that you can't actually see anyone landing punches or like landing hits. This, every punch you could see, every bullet fired hit a body. And maybe it was that the red really pops in this film in an almost cartoonish way. But anytime there was blood splatter, it felt heightened and super visceral and uncanny in a way. But it really added to the atmosphere of this being like just a step down from a superhero movie.
Yeah. I don't know if they establish in this about the jackets. I guess we should leave that for the fashion section, but the bulletproof jackets are a weird indulgence of this universe that feels very superhero.
What?
Oh, we'll get to it. So yeah, the movie's directed by Chad Stahelski, who was the stunt coordinator on the Matrix movies, I believe. And that's where he and Keanu became buds. And so this is very much the sort of 15 years later, the sort of culmination of their relationship.
Aw. Oh, well, that's pretty queer. I guess we'll get to that.
And Stahelski is currently making the new Highlander with Henry Cavill, so hopefully there'll be less clothing involved in that one. I mean...
Oh, God, let's hope.
Just in fact, let's talk about the boys.
Oh, yeah, let's do that.
Because there's no skin to be seen in this movie at all, but a lot of black fabric.
I'm gonna pull you back from that one.
Sorry, you're right. Russian bathhouse.
There's actually a lot of skin in this film. Well, maybe not a lot, but in one scene, there's a lot of skin. But let's start at the top. Keanu Reeves, he's not for me, but he is very handsome.
Yes, that's very much where I'm at as well. Like, Keanu is undeniably handsome. It's a sort of a edgeless handsomeness, you know?
Yeah.
He's very... Like, my sisters were hugely into him in Dracula back in the day, and you know, they would forgive his terrible English accent and pretend that no, actually it was good. Actually, you know, he's had his... and Speed. You know, he's had decades of being the hot boy, but a sort of slightly femme boy, like a slightly soft boy in a lot of his movies. There is something slightly androgynous about Keanu, not like super androgynous, but just enough of a hint to make him seem sort of harmless. I think that's even why as Neo, he's sort of, you know, he's not initially the guy you think is going to be a hard ass. And even like John Wick, it's like, yeah. And John Wick is the grieving husband. So there's a softness to that as well. Yeah, he's not a sensual actor. He's not a dangerous actor. And this is not a sexy role, I don't think. In fact, it's, you know, he's not flirting with any women because he's mourning his wife. It would undercut the whole narrative of the franchise if he was off getting laid like James Bond. And so as a result, the movies are kind of sexless and not horny enough for me, I have to say.
Agreed. Does Keanu gets to do what he does best in this movie? He's cold, he's steely, he's even. His emotions barely go like above a certain bar point, and that's fine. Like, yeah, it is what he does. And it's so funny to think that he spent like a gigantic chunk of his career chasing rom-coms and being very successful in them. And I think that goes to your point about him being a slightly femboy, in that there must be some appeal for straight women that doesn't connect with you and I. Like, that's not what I want in my man personally, for me. But I can see how, even though he's in these hyper-violent movies, he's kind of non-threatening, and that must be a perk to a lot of people.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. He's done so many like romantic roles, sort of dashing leading man roles. He has always done action as well. Like Speed was huge when that came out, and he was too big to come back for the sequel.
Yeah.
Point Break. Yeah. But yeah, he's always been kind of unique among action stars for being like the ladies' action star in a way, even though I don't think these movies are designed to appeal to women first and foremost.
At all.
There's no one else, I think, to look at in this movie, despite the fact that there's like one Russian bodybuilder in a Speedo where I perked up for a second. But every man in this is generally just hard-bitten and miserable. But I've left space in my life for you to tell me about Alfie Allen, because I feel like you're going to have something to say.
Well, I mean, this kind of harkens back to Rat Boy Summer in a way, I feel like. But Alfie Allen also gets to do what he does best in this film. He's slimy, he's dumb, he's short-fused, and he is, like, handsome. And I don't mean that as an insult, which I'm realizing is what it sounds like coming out of my
It sounds like you're
mouth.
His mom. Oh, you're uniquely handsome, Alfie.
Oh, no, if that's his mom, that's really sad, and I feel bad for him.
Well, she's an English mom.
Actually, point taken.
You know.
No, I mean, like, he has some charm to him, and obviously his breakout was Game of Thrones, where he got to play quite a different character who... a slightly different character. Still a wretch, still cast out by his family, but he got to show different levels. In this, he just gets to be, like, an asshole, and he does it really well. And, yeah, again, he's not really for me, but I get it. I can see how he's attractive. I'm going to leave that for straight women again. I will tell you who I am into, and that is Dean Winters. And we know that I have a thing about nostalgia bait, but Oz was the first, like, male nudity I saw on screen, I think, which is pretty dark for that to be my first.
Yeah, that's not great.
And yet, my God, that show turned me on. And I think it was meant to. So seeing Dean Winters in this, one of my sexual awakenings.
Right.
He could still get it. He's still, like, really handsome in this film. He's got that, like, boyish face, but you also know that he will shiv you in the shower and then also maybe fuck you. So
you did watch a lot of Oz. I mean,
I did.
Yeah, he's kind of like, what's the lead guy from Community? He's kind of like the evil version of that.
Oh, Joel
except that he's
McHale.
also, yeah, but Joel McHale is also evil. So it's like just a different level of evil. I don't know. Like they could be brothers.
They could be. Ooh, I'd see that movie. There's also Michael Nyqvist as Daddy in both sense of the word.
Right. Yes.
He played the lead in the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo films, the Swedish version, the better version. I'm sorry, Daniel Craig. And he was handsome in those, but in this, with his beard and the suit and that pinstripe suit with the red dress shirt underneath, I was into it. I liked it.
Okay. I mean, any source of water in a drought, I say.
Yes, and this one is thirsty.
Mm-hmm. The music of the movie, Shane, I will be very interested to know what you thought, because we've established where we fall apart. Oliver's really checking himself out in the mirror behind you. It's so adorable.
Oh, buddy.
So yeah, big parts of this soundtrack are just gunfire.
Yeah.
Which, hey, there's a musicality to it, I guess.
Sure.
But my main note about the music is this movie has no disco in its heart. The music sounds very AI generated, which it wouldn't have been at the time, but that's the vibe. And I think the standout track of the movie is supposed to be Think by Kaleda, which you could play it for me now and I would not know it. I would not recognize it from the movie because it's so lost. Like it's actually a very pleasant lo-fi ambient synth pop number, beautifully juxtaposed against the murderous mayhem in the bathhouse sequence.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't stand out to me. It doesn't, and it's not. I guess it's not meant to stand out. It's meant to wash over you in this moment of extreme violence. And beyond that, I have nothing to say about the music. It just doesn't land for me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Think by Kaleda is a nice song, and it really stands out in that scene because of the silence of everything else that's happening and the ambiance that it brings and the juxtaposition. But otherwise, the score just kind of fits nicely in the background to underline what we're seeing on the screen. It's this like blend of classic rock and techno, which is very much the vibe of John Wick, I'm guessing. But yeah, it does nothing to elevate. It does nothing to take away from. It just is the background of this film, and you're not meant to pay attention to it. And so, yeah, I don't really have anything to say about it or not. I guess, like, the dance. I thought
you'd be more generous than me. Like, I don't get it, so Shane probably does.
No, I mean the scene in the club, the Red Circle. I kind of like the techno dance of it, but also I'm never going to remember it, so it's not really like it doesn't stand out. It doesn't even like stand out in a good/bad way, like in Die Another Day, where it's like, oh, at least I can listen to this and like conjure up the images of the film. This, if I were to hear it in isolation, I would probably be like, I'd rather listen to something I like.
Okay. Well, speaking of bland straight boy aesthetics, let's get into the fashion.
Lots of suits. And, you know, we love suits on this podcast, but when they're all black suits with red dress shirts, what else is there to say?
Yeah, like these are the outfits that men who think they are trying wear to the award shows. Like that's the vibe here. It's like no one is, you know, John Wick himself is stylish, but in a conservative, like finance district bro way.
Yeah, in his morning blacks.
Yes. And even at the club, all the men are dressed in like their members-only jackets. The women are in monochrome cocktail dresses. The cage dancers are wearing dresses. What?
What? Where
It's
is
so
the sex
strange.
in this film?
Honestly, like everyone's dressed for a funeral, it seems like.
Yeah. Yeah. Even the mink dress that Ms. Perkins wears in her introductory scene, it's all black. And I mean, that was truly the highlight for me in terms of what people wore in this film. It's not enough to hold on to. There's just not enough going on. Yeah. The things that drew me were more the sets and some of the set pieces. Like, I really think the 1969 Mustang is a beautiful car. I can understand why Alfie Allen wanted to steal it. And the Red Circle, while it is one of those straight clubs that I will desperately avoid, I do like that it has a private bathhouse. And the aesthetic of the interior is neat. It at least has a point of view. Lots of red circles. Yeah. Lots of circular lights and spinning lights. And yeah.
I like the Continental as a concept. I think, it is a very elegant idea and an elegant execution of the idea. Like, it's a beautiful building, and it's that class and elegance that is sort of the metaphor here is that we can be violent, but we have to maintain a veneer of respectability. That's very much the sort of the colonial. It should have been called the Colonial rather than the Continental.
Honestly.
Because that's really what we're talking about. So the biggest gripe fashion-wise that I have with this franchise, apart from that there's nothing really to recommend it fashion-wise, is what I was saying to you before, the bulletproof suit jackets. And I guess that isn't established in this movie because you are taken by surprise by it. But as the franchise goes on, we learn that they have bulletproof lining or something in their jackets. It's really silly.
That's so dumb. He puts on a Kevlar vest in the film.
Yeah.
They made it very clear that he's wearing a bulletproof vest. Why do we also need a bulletproof suit?
I think they just thought it would make the action sequences sing a little more if they didn't have to worry about bulletproofing. But I'd say just let the bullets miss. We've done it for 50 years in cinema now. Just keep doing it. It's fine.
Yeah.
I find that easier to suspend my disbelief for than bulletproof fabric that hangs like a suit jacket.
I mean, honestly, like, I remember learning in school that if a bulletproof vest takes one bullet, it is rendered useless.
Right.
And the police have to then replace that bulletproof vest. And oftentimes, the bulletproof vest will still lead to broken ribs and internal bleeding and like some severe after effects. So to say that John Wick is getting hit by like tens of bullets is to say that this man is still going to die.
You learned this at school, Shane?
I don't know why I learned this at school, but it came up. Look, it's a police state, Andrew.
Fair enough. Let's talk about Queerness, because we're just riffing through things that just aren't relevant to this franchise. I mean, this is a really interesting test of our format because John Wick is not made for us. And this is kind of the proof in the pudding.
Our shortest episode ever.
Like, it's not even like I don't dislike the movies. They're the straightest action movies, at least at this stage. Like, I do think they get more colorful, more camp, more inclusive as they go on. But at this point, it is literally a movie about a man who loves his wife. And that's the gayest thing about it. A man loving his wife.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, Alfie Allen and his bro hang out in a bathhouse. So
yes,
there is that.
With
sure,
women.
They invite a couple of women along, but we know where the tension lies in a bathhouse, you and I.
You've got to maintain deniability in the mob.
That's exactly right. I honestly feel like this movie is asexual. He's not even avenging his wife. He's avenging his puppy.
The dog. Yeah.
So, yeah, like... and asexuality, they are part of the queer spectrum, so come on in.
True.
But also that's it. Like,
yeah,
this is,
and that's not text either.
This feels like a film made for an international audience that is allowed to be hyper violent and that's it, nothing else.
Right.
Does that make sense? Is that
yeah.
cringy. Like, I feel like that might be some subtle racism on my part, but honestly, if you're trying to sell something to China, to India, to Russia, to America, to anywhere in Europe, like, that is the thing that binds us all together, is our love of shooting each other.
Yeah. I mean, it's an American idea that's being exported. Violence is good and sex is bad. Like, that is kind of, if that is by design, it totally makes sense as a design to sell
and
something.
It worked.
And it worked. Yeah, I think, the whole thing about the puppy being the thing that he's actually avenging is kind of the genius of the franchise. Because we've seen a lot of like revenge thrillers where it's like, my wife was killed, my family was killed. It's the central premise of Death Wish and of The Punisher. And it's where characters will then go on a rampage of vengeance, not just against the people that killed their family, but then against everyone else that looks like them or sounds like them or walks like them.
One of your favorite Bond movies, Diamonds Are Forever. That's the entire premise. Yeah.
So this takes it in a slightly different direction, in that, like, if Alfie Allen had apologized, maybe it would have like stopped there. Or even if Alfie Allen had died and his dad had been like, well, fair enough, it would have stopped there. Well, it was my son. I mean,
that was pretty
Alfie
cold. He just like gives his son up for death and doesn't bat an eyelash, doesn't shed a single tear, which, I mean, puts Alfie Allen firmly in queer territory.
That's true. But yeah, it doesn't end with Alfie Allen. So, but yeah, I feel like this is a revenge story that could have ended like after 20 minutes. Like, you killed my dog.
Yeah.
I kill you. We don't need to escalate this further. But nope, 5
this could have been
and counting.
Yeah.
But we do have to talk about the dogs, the gender normativity of the dogs. John's wife leaves him with a female beagle. John adopts a male pit bull. Men will do anything to avoid going to therapy.
My God. That's a real kick in the nuts at the end of the film.
It's kind of like he gets to the end of killing all these people and he's like, actually, I didn't like that dog.
Oh, honestly.
Maybe I shouldn't have killed so many people because that dog sucked. It was such a girly dog.
I'm just not into bitches. What can I say? Men. Well,
the only other element of minor queerness that I can point to here is that John Wick's hitman codename is a grandmotherly Russian witch.
Baba Yaga.
So that's, no one ever brings up, hey, that's weird that your codename is a Russian grandmother. That she's a witch and you're not in any way magical. You're not Russian and you're not an old woman.
Well, isn't he magical though? Isn't he?
I mean, maybe there's a whole other mythology here. John Wick, as in candle. So yeah, it's weird that his name is Baba Yaga. It's very weird, and I don't know that it's ever addressed. But hey, he has a hitman drag identity, and that's cool.
Ooh, oh my God. Let that be the next John Wick film. Dressed
as a babushka.
Yeah.
Throwing off, doing the reveal, bang, bang, bang. Perfect.
Now that's a film I would give 10 stars to.
Do we want to get into the scorecard, Shane?
Yeah, it's not going to be great.
It's not going to be 10 stars, is it? So the way the scorecard works here at Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is that we give the movie a score between 0 and 5 points, and then we award bonus points if the movie is particularly spectacular in its representation of women, of the boys, music, fashion, or queerness. We can also apply a 1-point penalty if there is anything egregiously upsetting or offensive about the movie. This one's going to be a struggle
throughout this entire explanation, because I can see how low this movie is going to score. So I'm going to be really generous with my base movie score because of that. Because it is a fun film. Like, it does what it does well. And as you said at the top, it revitalized action movies in general. And they really kind of petered out in the 10 years between The Matrix and this. I'm going to say this is a 4. Like, it is a really good example of what an action film can be.
Yeah, given that it might be the only points we give it, I'm gonna go with the same 4 points. I was havering, but I think you're right. Like it's an icon of action cinema now. It's a classic, and it holds up. It really holds up as action cinema.
Does.
The woman.
The woman. That's a 0, pal. I mean, Ms. Perkins doesn't even have a first name, and John Wick's wife doesn't even have a name. She's just his wife, Mrs. Wick. The only named female is Daisy the dog, and she dies to service the plot of this film. So, no, I would be hating women if I gave this a point.
It's fair. The boys. Keanu, Alfie.
Michael Nyqvist, Lance Reddick, Alfie's hot Russian friend.
Right. Willem Dafoe, if you're into that. Ian McShane, if you're into that.
Yeah, this is going to be a 0 for me as well.
Even Dean Winters doesn't drag it up to
Even Dean Winters can't, I mean...
We don't do half points, so...
We don't do half points.
Okay, the music.
What music?
Yeah, okay. 0 points.
Yeah.
The fashion?
There's an argument that could be made that...
It has a style point of view.
It does have a style point of view. And it probably seemed like less of a boring choice back when this was fresh and new and everyone wasn't doing this. I really like the hotel. I really like the club and the bathhouse, but am I just being overly generous because it's the only point it's going to get? I'll give it a point.
I think I'm also
I'm not. I'm going to take it away. I'm sorry. No.
Okay, I will give it the point.
Okay.
I'm going to give it the point because it has a point of view, and so many action movies don't have even that. I don't like the fashion particularly. I find the fashion boring, but that's not what fashion is about. It's not about whether I like it. It's about whether it has a point of view. And this is a movie that creates a world that is beautiful in its way.
I agree. I've been watching a lot of Sex and the City lately because for some reason, and just like that is not doing it for anyone.
Well, the methadone's not working.
Exactly. And the fashion is sometimes terrible, but at least it has a point of view. At least it tells you something about the characters. So you know what? I will give this film the fashion point. You're right.
Oh my God.
Has a strong idea of who it is.
I bullied you into it. Yes.
Yeah. Sarah Jessica Parker bullied me into it.
She will. She's like that. Queerness.
No.
Penalty? I mean, it doesn't go out of its way to offend. It doesn't. It's a movie that doesn't include, but it doesn't actually actively offend.
Well, I mean, all women die in this film, but yes. But no, it's not worth the penalty because everyone dies in this film.
Yeah, basically, even poor Willem Dafoe. So that is a combined total of 5 out of 10, which is right for us. It's right for this project.
That's right. Yeah, it's a fun film, and if you haven't seen it, go watch it because it does do something really interesting. But if you're a queer person looking to satisfy an itch of high fashion and subtle sexuality between men or between women, if you're looking for, I don't know, music that jumps out of the screen and sticks with you, you're not going to find it here. You're just going to be getting a strong man's man action film.
And I will say, because it's not actively misogynistic, and again, the women do all die, but it's not a film that says women are bad or women are useless or women are a nag. It's not. It's actually progressive from what we're used to action movies being prior to this. It just isn't actually progressive. Yeah. If you want someone to give this movie 8 out of 10, there are other places where they all do that. That's not our remit.
No.
So that's John Wick. We may well come back for more. We've got a lot of Jason Bournes to get through, a lot of John Wicks to get through, but also a lot of James Bonds to get through.
Yeah, let us know in the comments which action movies or franchises you would like us to subject to our unorthodox rating system next. Is there a John Wick imitator that feels particularly queer to you? Please let us know because I want to see that.
Yeah. And it can't just be because Jason Statham takes his shirt off, but that is good.
Oh, that's fine by me.
Okay, we'll do the transporter. 2.
Oh, yay!
No, but
like
leave a
film.
comment saying that we should. Yeah,
right.
that's
Yeah.
the point.
No. Tell us what to do.
Thank you, Shane. Lovely as
Thank
always
you, Andrew.
to talk to you.
Always.
Kiss.
Bang, bang. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and subscribe to this channel. You can follow Kiss Kiss Bang Bang on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd at KKBB Pod, or email us at kisskissbangbangpod@gmail.com.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is recorded in Toronto on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples.